When I was younger, in my early 20s maybe, I played guitar a fair bit, listened to a fair spread of tunes. My thumbprint station on Pandora is wild, y'all. At that time in life, I also loved guitar tabs for learning. UltimateGuitar.com became a favorite website, and I must have printed half a ream of tablature for scrutiny and practice. I could not, however, locate tabs for Tweaker's song Happy Child. Bugged me to fail to learn the track simply because my preferred learning platform failed to churn out a done for me result. So I did what I always do in these situations. I made the damn tabs myself. I spent hours listening to Happy Child on repeat, tested my instincts, crafted tablature for the entire song by ear and hand, scrapped it, started over, scrapped again, finally had something. And as I'd come to learn, I did well, given the circumstances. I was never going to be one of the guitar greats, let me tell you. Never had the spunk for it. Still, I was satisfied with my homegrown tabs, confident they were at least 80% correct. And how's that for Pareto's principle in action? And finally, I saw an opportunity to give back to the Ultimate Guitar community that had given me so much. For whatever reason, when I was thinking about learning drums recently, I caught a wisp of the old tab memory, searched them out, and was pleasantly surprised. Were my tabs perfect? Fuck no. Someone corrected the chorus in the comments. Chords I suspected weren't quite right when figuring them out by ear, though I wasn't a skilled enough player to find the right chords. Even so, my imperfect tabs received more than 1,000 views and were favorited to 9 different lists, which was pretty fucking cool. I'm no guitar player, and this isn't some wild monologue about how I'm diving back into the strings and going whole hog on becoming a rock star or anything. Far from it. I have exactly zero business giving lessons or how-tos. Don't even play often enough to provide a few how-Is. But even I, unskilled guitarist, ranked somewhere in the 134,000s on ultimateguitar.com, provided a launch pad for a bunch of people, at least those 9 who favorited the tabs, to learn a song I loved, a song I wanted to learn for the sheer joy of playing along with a burned CD while my neighbors tried not to listen from the other side of our paper-thin apartment walls. Like many humans, I've felt pulled to music my whole life. Somewhere there exists a photo of me at age 4 clutching a favored brown plastic cassette player, hunched in the corner of the dark hallway, happily listening to, and then fast forwarding to find again, because the old tape player did not have a rewind button of all things, Great White's Once Bitten, Twice Shy. Well, my process of playing a song on repeat until I know it inside and out started there in that hallway. Great White wasn't the only act in my life. For as long as I can remember, I've listened to lots of 80s glam and rock and roll, the tunes my parents listened to. I grew up on a steady diet of Alda Nova. Blood on the Bricks still slaps, by the way. Bachman Turner Overdrive, Cinderella, Def Leppard, Eagles, Firehouse. I could have spent days on end skating around the kitchen floor in stocking feet and clutching a wooden spoon microphone. While I loved rock and roll then, still do, the music I listened to was always held an arm's length away from me. Creating music was something other people did. That changed when I saw Hanson on television. Zach Hanson was my first drum love. Seeing his face in the Umbop video all those years ago made me believe that I too could do some cool shit when I was still a kid. He was only about a year older than me when their debut track hit #1 on the Billboard charts. I was in love, instant crush. And if I wasn't already, that day I became a dreamer. When I eventually got a copy of Hanson's Middle of Nowhere and started blasting tunes and using air instruments, I surrounded myself with pillows and beat away at those drums. Had a great time doing it. Sometimes pretended I was drumming with Hanson. Sometimes I got my brother to pretend too. But when my cousins and I were starting a band, complicated without actual instruments or any musical ability of any kind, I chose or otherwise ended up with the guitar. Always drums in my fantasies, but guitar in real life? Maybe the answer for me wasn't one or the other. All those years ago, and I still remember my limiting beliefs, how nervous I was to share those tabs because I knew they weren't perfect. Perhaps I shouldn't have shared them at all. The notion certainly went through my head that I was a ghastly guitar player who should never pedal my suckage. Part of me thinks that even if one other person had written tabs for Happy Child, I probably wouldn't have shared mine because I'd have been afraid of comparison judgment. But since no tab existed against which to compare or judge mine, I went ahead, did the thing, plotted ahead, thinking that maybe one other person wanted to learn Happy Child too. I'm glad I have the wherewithal to do so. And in some ways, I've been a little more free with my art than with other aspects of my life. My paintings aren't perfect. The character drawings I create for Metastellar magazine, they're not perfect. My craft book on Point of View, which I've recently unpublished because I'm republishing the booklet with added material with Metastellar Press soon, is also not perfect. The bottom of my copyright page even includes the message, "The author would like you to know any errors remaining in this booklet are a result of her chaotic choices. At home, she's known as Messy Mommy. It is what it is." Really, nothing I produce is perfect, and it shouldn't be. Perfection is not only unattainable and unrelatable, it's non existent. I learned a long time ago when to release a piece of art into the world, even with its imperfections, because imperfections are human. They are the marks of the creator. If you're a millennial or close to it, you probably grew up people pleasing hard. Many of us were raised to respect our elders, not put our elbows on the table, never talk back, use our manners, and do as the adults said rather than learning from what they actually did. Many of us also heard, "Don't you want people to like you?" as if people liking us is a net good for personal satisfaction. It's not. Spoiler alert. It's gross, the way we were socially coerced into hiding our imperfections. Even those of us fortunate enough to have wonderfully supportive and loving parents. Still, much of my childhood was spent trying like hell to please everyone all the time. Meanwhile, I was failing to create contentment or happiness for myself. Around the time I posted the tabs to Happy Child, I was spiraling. Started smoking cigarettes, was drinking often and a lot. Made some choices that may make my father blush to hear about even today. Still, I constantly worried that I wasn't good enough at basically anything I ever did. Even then, I was a neurotic artist, except I didn't have the art yet. It's interesting the way hindsight can provide the why to previously unanswerable questions. When I was learning music all those years ago, I thought I ought to play guitar, though I was actually interested in drums. I'd have never told anyone that, though. I was too embarrassed for no reason at all. It felt important to me. So important, I buried the desire because I'd have been mortified if someone had suggested I couldn't or shouldn't play drums. I simply couldn't bear rejection when it came to percussion. Instead, I openly failed in some ways at guitar. Well, I never publicly played and had horrid guitar playing stage fright. So clumsy. Guitar never came naturally to me like the alto sax once had. I was more willing for people to know I was not good at guitar than for them to discover I was shit at drums. All these memories, all this reminiscing, all this checking in on tunes I know and love, and what I really had been thinking about was playing drums. How I want to move our electric drum kit to a more comfortable spot in the basement because the location of where it was didn't exactly inspire me. And really, not soon after I started having those conversations about how I could move the kit to a more comfortable spot, my partner did that for me. He has a dedicated music studio space in our basement where his bands play. And he carved out a perfect little rectangle for my daughter and I. So we have a girls' music area adjacent to his music studio space. Maybe we should have done this a long time ago. Maybe I should have done it for myself a long time ago. Now, years later, I can offer little explanation for past Fell, except it was likely the fear of a chronically scared kid that held me back. It's curious, but it's now so far removed I can no longer relay exactly what I would have been thinking. But since I'm now in the give no fucks phase of my life, I'm ready to invest the time and suckage to learn how to play drums. I've already started. Will I learn drums publicly? I mean, I'm not going to start a separate YouTube channel or anything. I don't have the patience or wherewithal for that kind of nonsense. But maybe I can eventually learn the drum part for another track, maybe a new happy child to pass on to a new set of learners. I already have a few songs in mind, and I have posted a playlist called The First 5 Songs I'm Learning on Drums on my channel, which you're welcome to check out. If you like rock and roll music, you might find these tunes too, especially if you were kind of a emo pseudo scene kid in the early 2000s. And maybe I'll share a progress with you or two here, periodically. Sometimes artists worry that their processes don't matter unless they've produced a body of work, at least one great piece. But they do matter. If you're doing it now, whatever it is, many others have already done it, but many more are just starting, even thinking about starting. Sharing your story, your art, even as you're creating it and developing yourself, may be a reason someone else begins their journey into creative development. That's why I shared the letter I wrote to future readers of my novel in progress way before I had anything close to a finished or shareable draft of the book. It's still in progress. I still only have, a handful over 20,000 words. But knowing the letter is out there and knowing that people are interested in it already gives me a little bit more motivation under the backside to continue writing, to keep up on the progress, to keep moving forward. If you know you need to start sharing your art, but you haven't yet, take this nudge as permission to go create your own imperfect happy child and share it with the world. Someone may be searching right now for what you're creating. Now, years later, I realize I no longer have the technical and dexterity finesse to play my own happy child tablature. So while I haven't gone back and started to relearn the song yet, I will be going back, diving back into those homegrown tabs as a springboard for my own conditioning as I work on my musical self. And when it comes to music, because music has no work pressure behind it, I'm a book developer, I'm a story developer. I work with words and I work with people who write words, and putting books together is like my favorite thing. But music as a separate art gives me a creative outlet that doesn't have the social comparison pressure directly attached to it. I'm not being judged on music as a basis for my work. It doesn't affect my income. Like there's nothing, the stakes are pretty low as far as music goes, which is why it's been so beneficial and frankly crucial for me to keep up on the positivity, to stay optimistic, and to keep creating. Playing drums or playing guitar or whatever have you gives me sort of some mental space to think about my story in a different way and come back to the writing desk that much more refreshed and inspired and ready to go. Create the bad art, do the thing, but also make sure you find an artistic practice separate from the art you want to sustain you to invest in as a hobby. Make it something you can do regularly for yourself. Share once in a while, keep up on the practice, but find something fun, something that inspires you, something that keeps that fire burning so that you can go back to the art you need to create to get it in front of the right people. Anyway, if you got to the end of this video, thank you for sticking around. I'm Fallon Clark, story developer, editor, wannabe drummer, apparently, rock and roll lover, fiction writer, and I do a bunch of other stuff too. Please share this video with someone in your life who needs permission to put the shitty thing out into the world, to get the weight of it off their shoulders so that they can put away that old project and start something new. The worst thing that we can do for ourselves as artists is to be afraid of sharing our creations. Holding that fear keeps us stuck in place. It keeps us unable to move forward because of comparison judgment or people pleasing or whatever other, limiting beliefs we're dealing with that day. So the best thing that you can do is simply rip off the sharing bandage. Get it out there, get it out the door, get your mind off of it, get the weight off your shoulders, and leave yourself open and light enough to sink into the next creative practice. Happy writing or drumming or painting or creating, whatever that looks like for you.